Hi everyone and welcome back. So this is actually a continuation of the court simulation game that I created. And now I just would like to see how the output is if I use GPT-4. So earlier I used the legacy GPT because this was the model that generated quite plausible outputs. This default mode is available for paid OpenAI ChatGPT subscribers. However, this model is generating much faster and also the consistency is not as good as this legacy. So I used the legacy for the earlier video. Now I'll use the larger model GPT-4 and let's take a look at how it generates. So let's go. So just to give you a rough view, this basically generates a court case. Jarvis is the AI court simulator and will generate the situation as well as the evidence and witness for both sides. We have different phases of the game: the opening statements, the evidence, the witness, closing statements, and the judge decisions. And at each phase, what we'll do is we'll show the context for the previous phases, and the AI judge will describe what the current phase is about before prompting the relevant side to start and the other side to oppose and so on. All right, and this is the prompt for the player to just choose one of the broad intents each time they need to generate something. All right, so the game will be played in a turn-based manner, and we can let either the AI or the player take the prosecutor or the defendant side. And now I'll just maybe take the prosecutor and the AI takes the defendant. So let's take a look. Welcome to Jarvis Court Simulator, and you will engage in various phases of the trial. All right. So this is an exciting introduction. So this is something that I asked and something that ChatGPT didn't really do. So, I mean, you see over here, wow, there's some excitement over here, I guess. Yeah. So this is a description. Hit and run case in residential area. John Smith is accused of hitting a parked car owned by Emily Brown. So I'm fighting the case for Emily Brown now. All right. So John Smith fled the scene without reporting the incident. So what we have some security camera footage. Win already. So you have security camera footage. Some paint chips found at the scene that matched the defendant's car. Okay, which means that the defendant probably, John Smith probably hit Emily Brown's car because the paint chips were found on the defendant's car. For the defendant, they have the work schedule that shows that he was at work and testimony from John's co-worker. So who is telling the truth? Let's take a look. All right, so over here we have the witnesses, okay, Emily Brown and Michael Johnson, and the for the defendant we have John as well as his co-worker Karen White. So you can see that the GPT-4 generation, maybe compared to the ChatGPT one, is a bit more specific, is a bit more colorful and flavorful, which highlights that a larger language model can perhaps imbue in it more understanding of the world in that sense, like more statistical understanding of the world. Here we have the remaining phases here, was done perfectly. And over here we have the prosecutor to ask, all right, please respond in dialogue form. Okay, and you can see this whole thing, okay, that I asked for it to repeat exactly. ChatGPT didn't really do it properly. Sometimes it miss out, but GPT-4 does it almost exactly. So let's take a look. Let's talk about emphasize the impact of the hit and run on the plaintiff. Show what happened to him after the hit and run. Let's take a look. Property damage. All right, which is the car damage in that sense, because this Emily was not in the car. It's a parked car. All right. So, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about a hit and run accident, blah blah, that has caused financial hardship. All right. The defendant John Smith struck a parked car and then fled the scene, showing a complete disregard for the law and the well-being of others. Throughout this trial, we will present evidence and testimony to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that John Smith is responsible for this accident and the ensuing damages. And now the AI judge will continue. Thank you, prosecutor. Let's hear the opening statement from the defendant. Wow, I'm very impressed. Like, you see, it continued directly the AI judge. Early on, when I tried with the ChatGPT, GPT-3 or 3.5 or ChatGPT, it did not generate this AI judge sometimes. You need to keep like regenerating the response. Although I did mention over here that this will be followed by either the AI judge or the witness. There's a bit of prompt engineering in order to tell the model what to do next, because I only have this starting prompt here. I need to repeat certain facets of it in order for the generation to continue. So let's take a look over here. Let's just let the AI do it with the letter A. All right, so in this case, let's try to use some words ourselves, all right? Because the AI now will be a very competent lawyer. As you know, GPT-4 kind of can pass the bar exam, and yeah, it's actually quite good at arguing stuff. So I think it's going to be very difficult to win. All right. I only have 25 messages, so we may not make it to the end of the trial for GPT-4, but GPT-4 will make a really, really good simulator for this law game. I've tried it before. I tried it yesterday, and I really liked it. Yeah, it's way better than ChatGPT. Yeah, much better. Like you can see over here, even the options presented here are so much clearer. Like over here, you can see this is like compared to like maybe for this ChatGPT simulation, like it's quite nice also. It's just like not exactly like as detailed as GPT-4. Right. So let's just see what we need to do. We need to present our evidence. The security, let's just put number 1 here. Let the AI generate. All right. Your Honor, we like to present the security camera footage obtained from a nearby house at the scene of an accident. All right. So you see the main make, model, and color as defendant's vehicle. All right. A unique bumper sticker which matched the car. Right. Strongly suggests that John Smith was responsible. Okay. I think the defendant can actually argue, all right, that he was not present and that car was just a similar car, or someone might have taken his car. Let's take a look at what the AI decides. All right. Okay. So this is GPT-4 arguing with me. All right. Let's see whether it works. Okay. His work schedule makes it highly unlikely. All right. Testimony of co-worker Karen White. All right. So basically, these are just human kind of evidence, right? So like it may not be true because people can tend to forget, people tend to make mistakes sometimes. Okay, let's talk about Emily Brown. So we're interviewing Emily Brown, who is the person who allegedly, Emily Brown is the person who got the damage, okay, the car damage. So the prosecutor can ask first, okay, before asking the defendant side to cross-examine. So I don't have much words to, much more responses to do, but Emily Brown, I don't really want to question because like we are trying to fight for her. But maybe what we can do is we can ask her about the damages caused by the accident. Like, what are the damages? Yeah, I'm going to type it now. I mean, I can also type 1. Like, what are the damages that are caused by John's accident on your car? Right, so let's take a look. What will Emily Brown respond? Yes, of course. The accident caused significant damage to the rear bumper and the left side of my car. The impact also broke the tail light and left a large dent in the body of the vehicle. The repair costs have been substantial. Actually, I feel her because I know actually car repair costs are quite expensive. And I've experienced inconvenience due to being without my car during the repair process. Wow, you see, it's almost, you can feel for this person. Like, it really feels like GPT can generate quite realistic content. You can see, thank you, Emily Brown. Let's proceed with cross-examination by the defendant. So let the AI question Emily Brown. All right, let's put A for Emily Brown. Is it accurate to say that you did not actually witness the accident and did not see the vehicle involved in the hit and run? Then Emily will say, that's correct. I did not see the accident happen. I only discovered the damages to my car afterward and reviewed the security camera footage provided by my neighbor. All right, so we can continue. Right, so one thing that needs to be done here is like you only did 1 question. It did not actually wait for like, please ask questions or indicate no further questions. Okay, it's supposed to go back to the prosecutor and keep asking questions. So this part isn't done properly, even for GPT-4. And perhaps, controlling the whole game flow by a prompt itself for a game, in this case, a simulator that involves quite distinct phases. Like one is you rotate from one side to another in terms of the presentation, and one is one side keeps questioning. Perhaps doing it by the prompt is difficult. Okay, and you may need like a meta level program controller to direct the game flow. So these some improvements that could be done. And of course, external memory. That's something that is a huge problem right now because of the context length. You may not carry over some of the initial instructions. That's why I need to do stuff like this to repeat the instructions for the later phases. So actually doing this prompt engineering for this game has led me to learn quite a lot about GPT's characteristics, what it can listen to, or not really listen, what I can understand in brackets, what I can understand, what I can interpret, and what it cannot. So it's been quite a fun exercise for me. All right, so let's win this case for, who is this? We win the case for Emily Brown. All right, let's take a look. All right, now we are doing Michael Johnson. Okay, eyewitness to the incident. Okay, so maybe we just talk about the distinguishing features, or ask if he saw the driver. All right, let's do number 3, because I think this is more important. If we can identify the driver, we can implicate John. All right, that John is the one who caused the hit and run. Because right now we don't have the evidence that John caused it. We only have the evidence that the car looks like his car, but someone else could have taken his car. All right, I saw the driver of the vehicle. I was walking my dog nearby when the accident happened. Cannot say with, oh no, he cannot say with absolute certainty, but strong resemblance. Okay, let the AI decide what to question. I hope we still have within the 25 messages to end the case, because I'm quite interested in the outcome. All right, so Michael Johnson, considering the circumstances of the time of the accident, how confident are you in your ability to accurately identify the driver? I wouldn't say I'm 100%. Oh, it's not very strong for the prosecution, actually. All right, so now John Smith. All right, I'm quite curious to interview John Smith. All right, let's take a look at what John Smith will respond. All right, the defendant will now direct examine the witness, John Smith. All right. So, okay, what I want to do is I want to ask him about his car and whether his car had any damage. Okay, so we can ask, what do you have to say about the car being in the footage, bearing strong resemblance to your car? All right, because I think this is the key point, right? I mean, if his car had the same features, we can implicate him already, I guess. Okay, I acknowledge that the car in the footage does resemble mine, but I can assure you that I was not involved in the accident. There are many, oh no, many cars of the same make, model, and color. Hey, actually, this was the defendant, is it? Oops. Oops. I actually accidentally did the move for the defender. All right, let's, since it's now prosecutor's turn, which is my turn, let's continue this questioning. Let's see. All right. Did you notice any damages on your car that day? Well maintained. Oh, wait, I start to ask him small questions like, did you notice, can you prove that your car is undamaged? Oh, looks like it's going to be hard to implicate John Smith on this. I mean, if any, he did not have any. He could also go for a maintenance check after one maintenance check, you see. So it's very hard to implicate just based on the car make alone. And some more, the driver himself or herself, in this case, the driver himself, John Smith, was not identified accurately by any security footage, nor by the witness. So I think it's going to be a hard case for the prosecution. I don't know. I don't know law enough to see how we can argue this, but going from how it looks like, I think the defendant is going to win the case. So let's take it. This game is actually quite entertaining. All right. But I mean, I know if you were involved in the trial, it's not that fun, but now I'm actually learning quite a bit of like the kind of evidence that I use just from this game. I don't know much. I just key in evidence and outcomes the evidence by GPT. So I'm learning from GPT in some sense. All right, so the defendant, let's just ask A for the AI to give a response. Okay, please confirm whether John Smith was present at work during the time of incident. All right, so this is the co-worker of John Smith. Yes, I can confirm that John was at work during the time of the accident. All right, I saw him several times during the shift. John was definitely at work. Okay, so I think in this case, it's going to be hard for me to ask any questions that. Okay, let's ask for discrepancies. All right. One thing I like about GPT-4 is that the flow of the game is more or less maintained. Like is followed by the AI judge and or AI witness like almost all the time compared to ChatGPT, which sometimes can have unreliable outputs or unreliable flow of the game. But again, I said all this can be rectified if we have a meta level controller. Like it can even be a rules-based engine that goes by the flow. All right. I can only speak the times I saw him throughout our shift. I specifically remember our conversation during our lunch break, which about the same time as the accident. Okay, so it looks like a bit hard to look at. Let's take a look at what the judge responds. All right. Closing arguments. Both sides was some. Oh, we have the closing arguments first. So let's take a look at the closing arguments. So I guess I'll just emphasize that the car is similar to that of the. Yeah, I'll do number 2. I'll do number 2. Yeah, similarities here. Although 1 is fine also, I can summarize the evidence. So I'll do 2. I'll emphasize the similarities between John Smith's car because I think the car is the key evidence here. But again, the bumper sticker could be replicated by other cars easily also. All right, let's take a look at what the defendant says. All right, we just let the AI decide for it. To be fair, I think the defendant has a strong case here. So in this court simulator, sometimes the evidence is like overwhelmingly strong for one party. Maybe I could just tone it down by saying the evidence should be ambiguous. Then maybe both sides have a fighting chance. Because right now, like based on the generation here, it does look like one side, which is the defendant, has an easier task because the defendant is not spotted by the security camera. Although the witness did say that it looked like him. So over here, we have demonstrated that evidence presented against John Smith is not sufficient to establish his involvement in the hit and run. Okay, John Smith and co-worker said that was present at work. The car may resemble John, but there's no concrete evidence connecting him to the accident. Eyewitness Michael Johnson was not able to positively identify John as the driver, and we have shown that there are other cars with similar appearances in the area. In the light of lack of definitive evidence and the strong alibi presented, we respectfully request that the court find John Smith not guilty. I think it's a losing battle for the prosecutor. All right, let's see the judge decision. All right, I have reached a conclusion. Defense has presented a credible alibi. Strength of the alibi and absence of definitive evidence. I find there's reasonable doubt regarding John Smith's involvement in the hit and run accident. Therefore, I find the defendant John Smith not guilty. Oh, I'll try my best as the prosecutor. So you can see, I mean, if you look at my previous video as well, like for the other ChatGPT games I played, my side has kind of lost. I mean, lost in brackets because, there's no losing in the light of law. It should be the one that has the best evidence. And actually the one that is innocent should be innocent. The one that is guilty should be guilty. So all this should be provable by evidence. So there's no real losing in the eyes of law, but I mean, the side that I'm representing has not won the case. So I don't know if it says that I'm not a very good lawyer. I guess I'm not a very good lawyer, but I managed to create this game. So yeah, do try it out. Let me know if you like it. I find the GPT-4 version much more entertaining to play compared to the ChatGPT one. But the ChatGPT one actually is already quite fun to play. The arguments presented are consistent. You can also present your own arguments. In fact, you can even ask the judge why he did so. Like over here, you can ask the judge more after the case is ended, like why, or we can ask like, will there be any reimbursement or any partial payment for Emily? You can ask the okay, so it looks like no. And you can also ask the judge like, why did you do this? Why not? No. Yeah, I don't know whether you can ask this, like, what are the statutes in law that support this? Because I'm not too sure whether like, beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay. I guess if you do some form of like retrieval augmented generation where you can consult the law books of that particular country, it can generate even responses that are very well suited for that particular country or that particular law case. So I can see that this is actually a very good debating tool, and it might also be able to help you form arguments in the law case. So, I mean, there's this startup company that like tried to get people to wear AirPods and file a court case with it with an AI. I can see that happening because like if your evidence can be administered as text, the AI actually makes quite a convincing case, and especially if augmented with books of the law that can help it ground the generation. So one of the key critique of large language models is that the generation is stochastic, is unreliable. But based on my experiments with it, I find that if you ground it in enough context at the beginning, the output can actually match the context quite well, and it's very, very consistent. So something amazing is happening here, and I believe that GPT-4 and the larger language models after that, when augmented with the right resources, connected in a larger ecosystem, can potentially achieve like a limited form of AGI, in the sense that AGI is above human performance. And this form of AGI is not self-improving, but is good enough to match or even exceed an average human being's performance in text tasks. I emphasize text tasks because like when you talk about locomotion or this is not a natural domain for text. Like text is not the natural domain to express like movement of arms or an arm or a finger, that kind of thing. These are more lower level. And so I don't think GPT can actually solve this kind, but for stuff that requires text, GPT-4 is very, very powerful. So yeah, that's the end of this video on GPT-4. I just want to show the difference between this GPT-4 AI court game versus the ChatGPT version, and it's actually a huge difference. The quality of the court case generated, the quality of the debates and the arguments presented is much higher for the GPT-4 one. So yes, do try it out. Let me know how you feel about it. All right, see you.